good to have you with us in the 9 p.m. edition of the Urban Debate. Viewers, things are looking up and changing when it comes to our vaccination policy. In the last 10 odd days, we've significantly picked up the pace on vaccination after the pretty much non-existent logjam kind of a situation we had towards end of April and first half of May. And now the government has come about and made big changes to our vaccination policy, which will at least help in easier and smoother procurement of our vaccines, even faster procurement. Because just like we have been emphasizing here on Mirror Now on the need for having a central procurement plan for vaccines, that has now been announced by the Prime Minister. So the vaccines, 75% of the vaccines that we use will be procured by the central government and then given to the states to distribute it and administer it to people. They've also decided that the cost will be borne by the central government. So it will be free for all above the age of 18, not just above the age of 45, but free for all above the age of 18, though most of the states had already announced that. But the states will not have to bear the brunt of it. The center will bear this cost. A lot of this was actually raised by the Supreme Court in some very tough questions that were posed to the government over its vaccination policy, which the Supreme Court called arbitrary when it came to pricing. But the Prime Minister, when he made these announcements today, defended, very vociferously defended the vaccine policy so far. And he, in fact, made it extremely clear that a lot of the decisions were actually taken with everybody on board. He said we first incorporated the suggestions from the states and only then did we proceed any further with our vaccination policy decisions, whether it was in January or later, even in March. He made it a point to highlight that centre was questioned about the centralization process. When the union government had control of it, we were questioned, we were targeted for having the sole control on it. He says we were told that one size does not fit all, and so let us decide. He said we were questioned on why the states were not being given a freedom to decide for themselves, and that union government was accused of over-centralization. A lot of it is actually what the opposition parties said. Some complained about the overall control, including procurement. Others focused more on the distribution, on the pricing, on the policy, the way it was being decided and unfolded. But there were questions raised. Prime Minister said that there was consensus that the states can arrange on their own, which is why we decided and changed the policy starting May 1st. But as the second wave hit and the demand for vaccines rose, it's the states who realized what a difficult challenge it is, what a daunting task it is to procure vaccines in the first place. And so they came back and said, no, you take charge of it, which is what the centre has done today. The opposition was quick to react, and they said, "Der aaye, durust aaye." So listen in to the Prime Minister's attack on the opposition in the states, and then the subsequent political reactions.
इस साल 16 जनवरी से शुरू होकर अप्रैल महीने के अंत तक भारत का वैक्सीनेशन कार्यक्रम मुख्यतः केंद्र सरकार की देखरेख में ही चला। सभी को मुफ्त वैक्सीन लगाने के मार्ग पर देश आगे बढ़ रहा था। देश के नागरिक भी अनुशासन का पालन करते हुए अपनी बारी आने पर वैक्सीन लगवा रहे थे। इस बीच कई राज्य सरकारों ने फिर कहा कि वैक्सीन का काम डिसेंट्रलाइज किया जाए और राज्यों पर छोड़ दिया जाए। तरह तरह के स्वर उठे, जैसे कि वैक्सीनेशन के लिए एज ग्रुप क्यों बनाए गए। दूसरी तरफ किसी ने कहा कि उम्र की सीमा आखिर केंद्र सरकार ही क्यों तय करे। कुछ आवाजें तो ऐसी भी उठी कि बुजुर्गों का वैक्सीनेशन पहले क्यों हो रहा है। भांति भांति के दबाव भी बनाए गए। देश के मीडिया के एक वर्ग ने इसे कैंपेन के रूप में भी चलाया।
अंततः सुप्रीम कोर्ट की डांट खाने के बाद केंद्र सरकार होश में आई है, अपनी कुंभकर्णी निद्रा से जागी है और फाइनली केंद्र सरकार ने सुप्रीम कोर्ट की डांट खाने के बाद अब ये कदम उठाया है। इस कदम का स्वागत है। देर आए दुरुस्त आए।
आज कारण बता रहे कि राज्य सरकारों ने मांगा उसीलिए उनको दे दिया। सरासर उल्टी बात है। राज्य सरकारें कई बार उनसे कही थी ये आपकी जिम्मेदारी है, आपको पहुंचाना क्यों नहीं हो रहा है। अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट में ये केस दर्ज है, अब उसका नतीजा आने वाला है और सबको पता है कोर्ट जिस तरीके से बयान दे रही है कि ये केंद्र सरकार की प्राथमिक जिम्मेदारी है। अब कोर्ट से ये आदेश आने से पहले वो जो है अपना घोषणा कर दिया। अच्छी बात है, देर आई लेकिन दुरुस्त आई बात।
उन्होंने वैक्सीन फ्री कर दी है दोबारा। एक बार बजट में अनाउंस हुआ था काफ़ी संशय के बाद, फिर 45 साल और उसके ऊपर का अलग केंद्र सरकार करेगी अपनी ओर से, बाकी राज्य सरकारें खरीदेंगी। तो देर आए दुरुस्त है, जो होना चाहिए था अब दोबारा फिर से हो रहा है। ये तो चेंज ही नहीं करना चाहिए था, गलत नीति थी।
माननीय सर्वोच्च न्यायालय से जो दस्तक आई थी उसको सुना गया और ज्वाइंट अपोजिशन ने जो लगातार डिमांड की थी उस पर शायद प्रधानमंत्री जी की नजर पड़ी। हालांकि शुरू में तो उनके दल के लोग उपहास उड़ा रहे थे इस तरह की सलाह का, सुझाव का। मैं समझता हूं कि प्रधानमंत्री जी का ये संदेश आज बिल्कुल साफ था और जाहिर है इससे उन्हें भी पता चला है कि वैक्सीन को लेकर के, फ्री वैक्सीनेशन को लेकर के पूरे आवाम में किस प्रकार की एक सोच और एक समझ विकसित हो रही थी, उसको सुना गया। फाइनली सम गुड सेंस हैज प्रिवेल्ड।
So, well, it's free jabs for all, but the political jabs continue irrespective. Now, as we go further, I will give out more examples of what the opposition had said earlier versus now. But the big question that I'm asking tonight to our political representatives is what led to the U-turn in the vaccine policy? There seems to be a scramble for trying to take credit. Is that what it is? What led to the change? Let's say good evening to Mani Sundaram, spokesperson for the DMK, Professor Dinesh Varshney, leader of CPI, Satyaprakash, spokesperson for JDU, Sudesh Verma, spokesperson for the BJP, Anshul Avajit, national spokesperson for the Congress, and Clyde Castro, spokesperson for the NCP, joining me this evening. Let me start off with Anshul on this one. Anshul, what led to this U-turn in policy?
Well, let me just talk firstly very quickly about the Prime Minister's speech, which was absolutely shameless in its propaganda. I've heard the Prime Minister speak before about these kind of tropes that he uses about empathy, but this time full of deceit, full of deception, particularly vicious. Let me give you the Congress's position on this vaccine program.
Why do you say deceit and deception?
Well, there were a number of untruths. I mean, you just have to go through his speech one by one. I mean, it was full of mockery and deceit. For example, let me just first of all, he passed on the entire buck to the states' governments for messing up this entire vaccination program. When I'll give you the timeline, it was the government that never ordered vaccine the whole of last year. And then later on, when it became exposed in the middle of their vaccination program and it felt the heat on him. By the way, the heat was from not just the courts, but from you guys as well. The sterling role of the media in exposing the lapses of the vaccination program. When the heat was on them, he suddenly threw the ball in the court of the states. And after that, this kind of vaccine Darwinism emerged, this perverse competition for vaccine among states, ordering from outside. It was never going to work in the first place. And when that was critiqued, and the Prime Minister was critiqued from it, from the courts as well, and from the members of the media, from the civil society, he decided he's going to take it back. Of course, the opposition doesn't mean anything to him because we have been relentlessly writing letters to him saying out that, listen, this program doesn't work. Our clear and unequivocal position has been that there should be a free universal vaccine program, which, by the way, this doesn't give you. There are loopholes and lapses in this program as well, because it is not a free vaccination program. 25% of the people here, which is the middle class. I mean, why is the middle class being penalized in this vaccination program?
Okay, one at a time. Let's go one at a time. I assure you we will come to, whatever issues you still have about the new policy program. Yes, but let's talk about what triggered this. What triggered this? That's the question I'm asking, Professor Dinesh Varshney. Would the political parties want to take the credit for it, or should we give it to the Supreme Court?
I think the credit should go to the people of India and their pressure, which is being represented by the opposition parties, 12 opposition parties, which wrote a letter to the Prime Minister that vaccination must be free of cost to all ages, as well as to the Supreme Court. Both of them represent the people of India. But the Modi ji should understand one thing: he has not done any obligation to the people of India. Wherever there is a federal character of the nation, whichever the nation it is, whether it is national government or the central government or the federal government, they have procured the vaccine and given to the state. In fact, from 16 January onwards, when the vaccination started, this policy was wrong, faulty. Even today, I say that 25% purchase allowed for the private hospital is wrong. What is the ratio of the population goes to private hospital? 24 crore people have already lost jobs. So 1 crore people have already lost job in the April and May itself of this year in the lockdown. And already 13 crore people were out of job since first lockdown. So hence, even for middle income group, it should be free of cost. No charges at all. Why? Even America can give any even poorer nation than us are giving free of cost to all age groups, to everybody. What is the problem? Why 25% by private hospital? We don't agree. तो ये बात सही है कि देर आए सवेर आए सोच क्या है
पर अभी भी आप पूरे खुश नहीं हैं. Okay.
आने नहीं पर मोदी जी एक मिनट तानवी. But the problem with Modi ji announcement and the order is a different. You see, as and when he make announcement, the government of India makes announcement that Bihar election सबको free देंगे, पलट गए. अब कह रहे हैं फ्री देंगे, वो यूपी का इलेक्शन है, उसके बाद कहीं पलट ना जाए. इनका कुछ पता नहीं.
No, but Professor Varshney, honestly, any which ways all the states were giving it for free. So I don't think that makes any material difference on ground. The states had already announced they're giving it to free. I mean, barring Punjab, which found another way to go around that free announcement and still make money out of it. Every other state was any which was giving it for free. So yeah.
9 states already announced that we will give free of cost in the beginning itself.
Yes.
Thereafter, some other states also announced.
Okay. So let me get reactions from Sudesh Sharma on this. Clyde, I see your hand, but let's go around the table. Let Sudesh answer to the Congress and the left, and then I'll come to you. Yes, Sudesh Sharma.
Yeah, Tanvi, first of all, we as party, we welcome the momentous decision of Prime Minister Modi to give free vaccination, which states had asked. But somehow they could not, I think, manage the resource. This is what the Prime Minister said. They found there were problems. So finally a decision has been taken and we are very happy for people of this country. And the other reason for happiness is that 80 crore people would be given free ration till November, which means another 1,50,000 crore to take care of.
अरे यार 5 किलो अनाज में सुदेश वर्मा क्या रोटी खिलाओगे और क्या उसकी नौकरी खिलाओगे क्यों झूठ बोलते हो इसको छोड़ दो ये अनाज वाले
in this country, but we are listening to you because this is
okay. No. Professor Varshney, come on, please allow him to finish. There are 6 of you. Let's go around the table and hear everybody out. Yes, Sudesh Verma.
Democracy, you can have an opinion. Besides the Prime Minister, this is the most democratic country in the world. We welcome your criticism, but we are not into politics because we want to please you. Or we want to act on what you are saying. We are here to please the people of this country, to understand their problems and to give solutions when it is needed. And after the Prime Minister has given the rationality for the decision, there is no argument from my side that is going to add to further that, isn't it? But I take strong exception to Ansur Abhijit's intemperate criticism because you should not criticize just for the sake of criticism. Come out with concrete issues, why you oppose it? Are you not welcoming it?
But you Mr. Sudesh Verma, you can't say that you don't.
No. On the issue of 25% to private sector, we welcome it because those people in this country who feel they do not want free, they should be given a chance to go and get the jab. What is your problem? If they don't want to come and wait,
it was the people of India.
take it. What is your problem?
Okay.
Why do you want to prevent them?
Okay.
There are many people who like to get it. After
Many
paying it.
people are okay paying for it. Many people are okay paying for it. So let them go to the private hospitals and get their jab for the 75%. Otherwise, the government is providing it free of cost. As long as there is transparency in allocation and equitable distribution. We need to know that only 25% is going to the private hospitals when the 75% are going to the states. But Clyde Castro, give one reasonable problem that is there with this policy. Don't criticize it for the heck of it.
Well, reasonable. I'll tell you something. First of all, I just request the PCR to only allow the person who's talking to have the fader up, because we're six of us. Everyone's going to talk over each other. No one's going to hear. Okay. Now I'm trying to figure out why my dear friend, and I say dear friend Sudesh Ormaji, because we fight, but we have nothing personal. I find him blushing throughout this debate. I'm wondering, why is he blushing? Is he blushing and smiling because they've started a Twitter trend called Master Stroke, or they've just saved their face?
The politics over vaccine has come to the ground now, and that is why I'm smiling. You
know what, Tanvi, your PCR doesn't understand when I say that please put the fader up.
No, Clyde,
who's supposed to talk?
Clyde, my PCR is not going to listen to what you have to say. I am going to ask the panelists. So you should request the panelists, and I am asking the panelists to hear everybody out and not interject. Go ahead, please.
Tanvi,
yes.
Tanvi, yeah, okay. So, okay, I liked what you said. Your PCR not going to listen to me. Thank you very much. Don't listen to me. Okay, but at least have some decency and courtesy to have a decent, not talking over each other kind of debate. Please, we've not done this before on your debate, so let's not. I'm really unhappy with you saying that the PCR is not going to listen to me. I don't want your PCR to listen to me. Okay, let's get to the point now.
No, why am I smiling?
You are smiling because you saved your face from the Supreme Court.
Gentlemen, calm down, calm down.
The Supreme Court hammered you.
Yes.
The Supreme Court hammered you, therefore you are smiling. You saved your face today. Supriya, so you were not ready to give an affidavit. You had no affidavit to give. You were supposed to spend 35,000 crores on the vaccine. You were playing around with the state government. You were playing around with the lives of the people. So now let me finish talking, because I'm not going to talk over you. I have the decency not to talk over you. So keep quiet now, please. Okay? The fact of the matter is, Tanvi, when you started off, you said, it was a daunting task for the state, so they did not know what to do. Obviously, it was a daunting task. When the state said that, if you are not going to provide us vaccine, let us go ahead and, do the vaccination. When we asked for that, the center stopped providing enough vaccines to us. Then all the top companies like Moderna and all said, we will only deal with the center, we will not deal with the state. So where did it leave the state? It became a daunting task for the state. We were trying to inoculate our people, but the center was playing ping pong with us. One day you say this, one day you say that.
Okay.
That's how it was doing. So today they are face saving, and BJP spokesperson are sitting and blushing over because they saved their face, and not because it's a master stroke.
Okay. Master stroke is trending, Mr. Satya Prakash, but so is Justice Chandrachud trending. The question that I asked in the beginning, can any political party or state really take credit for this change in policy? Or is it because some tough questions were asked by the Supreme Court, or the people were raising their voice saying this vaccine policy isn't working? Mr. Satya Prakash.
Tanvi, in a democracy, court and civil society and the people definitely do make their comments. But the government of the day has to take a stand on that, and the government has taken a complete stand, free vaccination to all. Earlier, when the policy was that, states should contribute in vaccination policy. Bihar was in so many states, actually, we are giving free vaccination to its citizen. Now the question, it is not a U-turn or a Y-turn or X-turn. It is a right turn by the Prime Minister of India, free vaccination to all. We should, all political party more or less welcomed it. We should welcome it and move from it, that let vaccination start in free way. And if anybody is, free to criticize now even, but what they will get out of it, nothing. The government has taken a stand on whatever basis, policy making sometimes requires certain kind of changes, and that change has taken place, and we are here to welcome it, and we just, we are not we are not bashing our back at all. We are just saying that government of the day decided in favor of free vaccination, and every political party should welcome it, and every state should contribute it. Earlier state was providing free vaccination. The health is a state subject. So some point of time,
So what has changed, Mr. Satya Prakash? How is it free vaccination for all any which ways? the private
Yeah,
hospitals are still going to charge us.
If you are saying about 25% late, if somebody wants to buy vaccination for themselves, let them buy. But now the policy is that free vaccination. Even they don't buy it, they will get free vaccine. It's
So
very
you agree?
simple in the policy.
So let me ask you this question, because Bihar was one of those states where during election time you made the promise of free vaccines and the state would bear the cost of. Are you glad you don't have to bear the cost of it anymore and that the center is going to pay for it?
Yeah, definitely. Why not? We will welcome this state. Definitely. It was earlier, even during the election time, it was a promise, and we are fulfilling that promise in Bihar. And other states also doing the same. Some states are providing free vaccination to its citizen. But when the question arises on so many platforms, the government of the India decided in favor of free vaccination. Why political parties are not welcoming it? We are not bashing our back. Simple. We are just saying pre-vaccination to all. Let's move from here and appeal to everyone. Don't put any kind of vaccine hesitation or reluctance to the vaccination or refusal to the vaccination. We should focus on how the people should get aware that vaccine is safe and vaccine will be a protection against the COVID. That should be the objective, rather than focusing on what is the cost of the vaccine, why the vaccination is not free. Now the government come out, free vaccination to all. What is wrong in it?
Okay. But here is the other aspect. Here is the other aspect that I want to talk about. And let's go across to Mani Sundaram on this. Manu, one aspect which is being raised is that even now private hospitals will get to charge money. They're going to buy a Covaxin dose for $1,200 from the maker, put a service charge on it, and then administer the dose. Why is that required? Why shouldn't all of it be universal?
Well, to be frank, Tanvi, I don't think that should be the focus of our concern today. It is important that you understand and why that vaccines will be charged in a private setting, but that is the element of choice. If someone decides to go to a private hospital and get vaccinated rather than a primary healthcare center or a government hospital in Tamil Nadu, then it is their choice. Now, what we must be concerned about and what we have repeatedly been concerned about is whether a person who's willing to pay will even have an opportunity to get vaccinated. Now, that I'm talking about are stocks of vaccines. Now, we've discussed this on a number of occasions. Pfizer is currently supplying to 155 countries, if I'm not wrong, but India is not one of them. The plan is the center, the union government must work and ensure to have sufficient availability of stocks. So it doesn't matter whether Manu wants to get vaccinated in a private setting or in a government setting. Of course, we are happy that the Prime Minister has reversed the previous misguided strategy today. I welcome the U-turn if that helps my friends. But, I don't think, again, much of this discussion, Tanvi, we've talked about whether the opposition should take credit. Of course, the opposition has every right to criticize and ask questions, uncomfortable as they may be, of the government. And of course, the Supreme Court question whether the policy is arbitrary, whether it is irrational, whether it is unreasonable. And then the Supreme Court has every right to do so. But today, we need to figure out, are we the only country until yesterday who were charging for vaccinations? Because most countries, if not all other countries, have not charged for vaccination. So therefore, I think today, and I'm very grateful for the previous speaker who repeatedly said that health is a state subject. If that is so, we only have one request to our Prime Minister and the union government, which is decentralize everything to do with vaccination. Now, my friend says, and I completely agree, there should be no vaccine hesitancy. We should be encouraging as many people to get vaccinated. But, sir, there is a realistic problem using the CoWIN app. If you keep administration and distribution and validation and registration of vaccination through a centralized union government application, it is going to be a real problem in making sure that vaccines go to the most farthest, remotest corners of our country. So please give up this CoWIN app. Let the states take all the vaccines from the center.
So let me just clarify one thing though. When you say please decentralize, you mean the distribution and the administration? Because otherwise we are back to square one. The last time the opposition said decentralize, they decentralized procurement and said you're on your own.
Exactly. That was not the point. The thing is, the procurement is about money, how much what is the best deal we can get for if you're going to get Pfizer or Moderna or any of the other vaccines, including AstraZeneca. But distribution, last mile delivery, only the states can do it. That is how we do the different, polio vaccines or any of the BCG or tetanus vaccines. And that is what has been effective in our country. And that is the states have the domain knowledge and expertise to make sure it goes to every remote village in their own state and to understand what is the best way to do that. So therefore, this entire registration and validation which we're doing on a COVID app, which even to urban people like us is so difficult and so frustrating, that cannot work in remote places, and that this is based on experience of trying to do this over the last 3 weeks under the new government in Tamil Nadu.
Okay. Clyde Castro wants to make a point. Go ahead, please.
Well, Tanvi, see, I actually want to make a point where I'm trying to say is that whatever the center does, see, we can keep fighting here as spokesperson and everything between parties. Whatever the center does, make sure you do it with keeping people in mind. Whether you're decentralizing it or centralizing it, just keep the people in mind. If for example, the state said that, let us do this, health is a state subject, let's do it, at the state level, fair enough. Then make sure that the states can get all the vaccines that they require to inoculate people. If the states have to make their own app and, if the app has to work according to the situation in that particular state, give that kind of support to the state. Because, like, for example, when on the 1st of May, you said that, you have to inoculate your own people. Then the big companies say that, we'll only deal with the center, we will not deal with the states. So you come out with the policy where you tell these big companies, yes, you can deal with the states also. You don't have to just deal with us. So whatever you do, at the end of the day, make it people friendly. It is not about politics. People are suffering because we are fighting here on news channels and we are kind of fighting wherever across parliament or Vidhan Sabha, Vidhan Bhavan, wherever we are. Point here is make it simple for the people. So whether you're decentralizing it, centralizing it, make it simple for the people.
Okay,
because in the bargain, people are being played along like games. Let's not do that.
But who's okay? Fair enough. I actually did want to raise this point even the last time Mr. Sudesh Verma spoke about it. Mr. Sudesh Verma, basis who are we deciding our policies? Is it the states and the opposition parties, or is it the people? Because I seem to be getting this answer every time we ask the question, that the opposition parties asked to get control. Rahul Gandhi asked to get control. Mamata Banerjee said, give us control. So we gave it. Now you are saying take back control. So we are taking it back. Surely the policy decisions aren't just being decided on the basis of this.
No, the Prime Minister did not say that. Let me correct, because there's an impression. The Prime Minister did say that states wanted liberty. The states wanted to do something. But in the end, they also realized the complexities, and now we are going to do that. He didn't say that, because you said that we are doing. No, not at all. But when you want to exercise and there is a genuine demand, why should it not be given? And when, you face problem, the Prime Minister is the highest authority, so he has resolved your problem. You should be happy about it. Now, coming to the question raised about how we are going to do it, you see, without state cooperation, no central scheme can be implemented in any state. That is the reality, isn't it? If you understand about health infrastructure in this country, I'm sure, Tanvi, you would be knowing that there are more than 150,000 sub-centers. We call it sub-centers, isn't it? Located in rural areas, catering to a population of 5,000. There you have one employee paid by the central government, one employee paid by the state government. And this structure has to be used if you have to go to the last person in the delivery system, isn't it? So naturally, state infrastructure would be used. You know that the Prime Minister has tried to strengthen that infrastructure by calling it health and wellness centers. And 70,000 health and wellness centers have been strengthened already. So it's not that we are not aware of the infrastructure as just the policy has been made. No, not like that. States have to now infrastructure, make it more effective, and they should focus on implementation of this scheme. This is not again come up with some, please be the solution. Don't become the problem. Now you'll get vaccine, and the number of vaccines you get, you have to inoculate people. So create that system, and the center is going to come out with a policy, as Prime Minister said, and wait for that, and ensure that you will get a foolproof system where there will be no problem. And I don't see that there is any discrimination and poor people are not being taken. It's actually the poor people who are being looked into in the whole exercise. And that is why the Prime Minister's decision.
So, okay, fair enough. But this point was made. I mean, however you presented, the Prime Minister did say that we moved ahead with the consensus of the states. We had a policy in place which was centralized, where we were procuring the vaccines. The states began to write to us, to speak to us, Anshul Avajit. And I'm reading a comment by Mr. Anand Sharma of the Congress party, who said on April 16th that the state governments must immediately be allowed to enter into contracts for procurement of vaccines. I also saw a comment from Mamata Banerjee in a letter that she wrote, and she is now pulling out letters from February today, but she's forgotten about the one that she wrote on April 18th, where she said, allow states to procure vaccines directly. So there is merit to when the BJP says that, well, you asked for procurement rights and we gave it to you, and then you realize it's not your cup of tea.
The BJP takes no prisoners, Tanvi. I mean, do you honestly believe that it's in the psychology and the temperament of the BJP that it's going to consult anyone? Look at all the previous bills and laws. I mean, that way, if we started consulting all the stakeholders, then we'd have repealed the Farmers Act. There would have been no CAA. The Farmers Bill wouldn't have actually got through Parliament with actually no division, with only a voice vote. I mean, the Akali Dal actually left you because there was no consultative mechanism. Do you honestly expect me to believe that the Prime Minister was suddenly swayed by this upswell of criticism? Actually, a lot of the Supreme Court's searing critique of the central government had a lot to do with it. But do you think that it believed that it had to do with it and it just changed its mind? The heat was on it, right? You know, you can't cherry pick certain comments made by leaders of the opposition and say that this is what everyone wanted. I'll tell you what happened. There was a situation of extreme exasperation and desperation by April about the vaccine policy. There was ad hocism. It kept changing all the time. Nobody knew how much vaccines had been ordered. That's why the Supreme Court actually wanted a paper asking the manufacturers, please tell us, for God's sake, tell us, where have all the vaccine gone? Have they gone abroad? Which are the companies you're giving to? How much have the state governments got? How much have the central government got? That was not made clear by the middle of April. So in desperation, a lot of people said, listen, what's going on? The central government has absolutely failed in its responsibility, in its existential responsibility for protecting the lives of Indians. I mean, there is a social contract which has been mediated by electoral politics, in which you have to protect the lives of Indians. It's there in Article 21 of the Constitution, which was said by the Supreme Court. Listen, this vaccine policy is a violation of Article 21 of the Constitution. Any vaccine policy that comes out has to withstand the scrutiny of Article 14 and Article 21. Time and again, they called it irrational, arbitrary. Other courts were even more harsh in their indictment. I wouldn't use a word like manslaughter, but the Delhi High Court did. I mean, there were all kinds of words that came out, which actually they were right in auditing the executive in these huge lapses that occurred in the vaccination. I mean, why is the Prime Minister covering up all these lapses, and why are we buying into his propaganda? I mean, there's a series of untruths that also came out. Tanvi, one other point, you asked me what were the untruths by the Prime Minister. It just wasn't about the states. It was also about the R&D which is given to these companies. It was also about the Atmanirbhar Abhiyan fund that was supposedly given when you had Adar Poonawala coming on TV and saying, listen, I've got no money. I've got no money to expand. The government hasn't given me anything. Where is the money gone? So I don't understand a Prime Minister making a statement like there was no India that existed before 2014, that all our vaccination drives amounted to nothing, that we had no BCG, no smallpox, no leprosy, no polio. Outrageous statement to make by the Prime Minister. What am I? You know, Mr. Sudesh Verma said this is no time. I take exception to you critiquing the Prime Minister.
Can I respond?
Yes. I want a response on this. Okay, I want a response on the charge by Congress party, Sudesh Verma, that why make it sound as if the vaccination policy was of no use before 2014 and all the improvements have only happened since 2014?
See, first of all, we are all aware, your viewers would be aware, the kind of regard the Congress has for the courts of this country. We have seen that how they tried to impeach Supreme Court Chief Justice, isn't it? When a decision did not come in their favor. So don't latch on to the shoulder of the Supreme Court or the court to criticize us, come with your valid criticism. What the court has said, we'll respond to that. And that is a matter between court and the government. Don't worry about that. And courts have tried in their best wisdom to guide the government, and we always bow down to the wisdom of the court. We never question or criticize. Okay, now coming to the substantive you are talking about, Ansul Abhijit. You see, we do not agree to whatever you are saying, because for the simple fact, you see, here is a Prime Minister who is not responding because opposition has said something or because there is desperation. No. The Prime Minister, when you wanted something, he has given that thing to you, because you said that you were not getting the vaccines. When you came to know that vaccine is not available at all internationally, you thought that you could procure vaccine and do one-upmanship in politics and get some brownie points. But the decision taken by the Prime Minister today, and that explains why I was smiling. All of you are crestfallen, because with one decision, he has exposed your politics. You were saying we need the authority to buy, and you had declared in various elections, including the BJP governments in this state, that they will give vaccine free of cost, isn't it? So you wanted Modi ji to fund you. You promised it. So you should have the wherewithal to fund that, isn't it? None of the BJP governments made an issue of it. None of the governments run by our allies made an issue out of it. Only the Congress government and the Kejriwal government in Delhi, they made issue out of it, because you could plus a lot of fund to push your own image through various advertisements in newspapers and magazines and television, but you could not finance. So center realized, okay, we don't want people to suffer. So the Prime Minister has taken a decision. So where is the problem now? I don't understand.
Okay,
why
where is the problem?
Now?
Where is the problem? Well, it's not just the Congress and the AAP. The BJD, which largely doesn't get into this kind of opposition politics, also raised this issue. Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik wrote. Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik wrote to the centre and the Prime Minister, and so did Pinarayi Vijayan, Professor Varshney, to the Prime Minister as far as the central procurement and free-for-all vaccines are concerned. Professor Varshney.
Look, Tanvi, not Pinarayi Vijayan wrote to the Prime Minister. No, Pinarayi Vijayan wrote to the 11 Chief Ministers' sons.
Yes.
And almost all Chief Ministers were demanding that it is a duty of the central government. And you know, the Modi, we welcome this decision. We were waiting for this decision. People of India were waiting for decision, but it is too late. Already it will be starting on 21st June. And many of the states are have to even stop the vaccination of 45 and above because of non-availability of the vaccines, because of the faulty policies of the Modi ji while dealing the entire corona pandemic in phase 1 and phase 2, wave 1 and wave 2, both in whether it is vaccination or hospital bed or oxygen or whatever it is.
But this is not
Number
the opinion
2,
of international
please
experts.
try to understand that
This is not the opinion of experts in this country.
each and every file related to vaccination, each and every file. Do you know the meaning of that? That the Supreme Court did not believe in the government of India, what they are saying in the court about vaccination through the Attorney General.
No, Supreme Court has all the right. Why you are again riding the shoulder of the Supreme Court? You have something substantive to say, independent of the Supreme Court.
Understand the meaning of that.
Said something, the government will reply to them. Your criticism. You should be silent now.
Okay.
At the prime, now you should ask the state government, which you have the only state government.
Okay. Let me hear what Professor Varshney has to say in response. Yes.
People of India has to be primary concern of every government, whether Kerala government or Delhi government or central government or Punjab government or Madhya Pradesh government. Your problem is you believe in demagogy. You believe in false announcement. In Bihar election, what you said? Free vaccines to all. Now you say private hospitals are allowed to buy 25%. Only 6% population of the country goes to private hospital for treatments. Please try to understand. And why 25% for them? Let there be a 10% for them. Let 15% be a cure for the states. That shortage should be meted out before 21st of June. You already lost 1 month complete 1 month for the vaccination of 18 to 45, and you are already giving very slow vaccines to the people of India. Your speed is so slow that the state has to close down the vaccination center even for 45 and above.
Well, let me ask that question to Satyaprakash. Mr. Satyaprakash, 25%, isn't that a disproportionate quota to give to private hospitals here? Even now we have examples where private hospitals are not seeing queues and they're sitting on doses, whereas the state centers are running out of doses every day.
You know, it is a freedom of choices. If people want to get vaccinated at private hospital, we cannot stop them. It is a freedom of choice in a democracy. What is wrong in that? And second,
you think 25% of India wants to make that choice?
No, if 25% is available to them, and if anyone want to get vaccinated at their cost, what is wrong in that? My point is that we are not promoting, we are promoting free vaccination. We have not done it 50-50. The government of India has not done it 50-50. But they are not, missing any chance to do politics over vaccination. Now the question is that how to move ahead from this point, that we should appeal to the people, get vaccinated. Simple. But when Congress party said, what Anshul made a comment here, that they want to make some kind of constructive, opinion or suggestion to the government. I ask you, Anshul, when the last time your party president or the party leader has any constructive suggestion rather than abusing the government of the India? Since last 7 years, you have been abusing the Prime Minister.
1 minute. Mr. Satyaprakash, just give me 10 seconds. Mr. Satyaprakash, just give me 10 seconds. I just want to tell Professor Varshney and anybody else who may want to speak right now, Professor Varshney, we will not be able to hear you because this is the way the technology Skype connections currently work. If Satyaprakash is talking, we will not be able to hear you. Your voice will just, the effort will be wasted. I'll come back to you and then you can make your point.
What
yes.
Professor Varshney has a suggestion for anything that we should not go for 25%. And what the Congress is saying, if they would make the constructive suggestion, if they make the credible constructive suggestion, government is ready to listen all kind of suggestions. But they have never been united even on international issue, whether it is surgical strike, whether it is problem with China. The Congress has proved since last 7 years it is the most destructive opposition in the history of India. Even now we respect their welcome, more or less whatever they welcome now for free vaccination, we welcome them and appeal to them. Go and appeal to the people of India, get vaccinated. And that is the work now. This is not the work that we should criticize the policy better. No, every government has been criticized on so many occasions, on so many policies by the Supreme Court. We accept the verdict and opinion of the Supreme Court. It is the respect inside a democracy. Why they are taking charge? Haven't Congress been, criticized by the Supreme Court in the past? So many occasions, on so many times, Supreme Court has the authority and right to make opinion and they can criticize and they can even change the policy. What is wrong in that? We accept whatever the Supreme Court observation in any case.
Yes.
But at the same time, we don't do politics on the observation of Supreme Court. The stand might be vindicated sometime and sometime not.
Okay.
But now the focus must be on vaccination appeal, not to the petty politics during the pandemic time in the name of vaccination or in the name of anything. No politics at all during pandemic time.
But the politics is not over yet, Mr. Satyaprakash. It will never be over, irrespective of how much I hope what you say come true. But Clyde Castro, is this a point?
Can I say just one point pointer?
Okay, just one single point. Yes, Professor Varshney. And then I'm going to Clyde.
Satyaprakash, with due respect to you, I would like to ask you how many percentage of the people of Bihar go to the private hospital? In all over India, the 6% population hardly visit the private hospital. So the maximum percentage of vaccine should go to the private hospital.
But it doesn't mean, Professor, that we will not provide the freedom of choice. We cannot curb the freedom of choice.
This type of policy is allowed and has been adopted, whereas throughout the world, the vaccination is being purchased by the central government and given to the state governments.
Okay.
Federal character or non-federal character. Please see the world map and check it.
Throughout the world, it is a government-sponsored universal vaccination program. Definitely, I agree with you, Professor Varshney, and the differential policy as a concept also doesn't exist anywhere. But Clyde, is 25% to private hospitals too much? Or should the vaccine makers also be allowed to make some money at some point by selling to private hospitals and let them charge 150 rupees as service charge?
No, but if the vaccine producing company to make money, let the government pay for it. Let the government make it free for everybody across all platforms. Even the private hospital, if somebody wants to go to a private hospital, let the government pay for it. It's not the government's money, it's the people's money. It's the taxpayers' money. Everybody keeps talking about the government is doing that, more government is doing that. It's the taxpayers' money. It's the people's money that is being brought back here. So what are we talking about? And my point here, Tanvi, I also wanted to ask you, I have this concern. Because some time ago, on your debate only, we've discussed this very extensively, is that, when the center was giving out vaccines, okay, the BJP governed states were getting more doses than the non-BJP governed states. Now that we are back to the center again, I hope that this disparity doesn't come up again. Because there should be equal distribution of doses according to caseloads, according to population. Everybody should get equal. And it's a fact, and I'm not just saying it. We have discussed this before. Gujarat, when the Gujarat's population is about 6 crores, 7 crores, they got about 27 lakh doses. Maharashtra was 12 crore population, we were getting 7 lakh doses, and we kept insisting asking for more. And it's not just us. Every other non-BJP government state has made this issue, saying that we are getting less doses as compared to the BJP governed state. My only humble request to the center is, don't create this disparity. Go according to the caseload, go according to the population.
Okay.
And why don't you come out with a bar chart? Show the people of this country
No,
that
I
we are going to give so much vaccine to so-and-so state, so much vaccine to so-and-so state in the caseload. Bring a bar chart out.
I want a
Bring it, let it be
formula.
transparent.
For every round of allocation that happens, why should there not be a formula clearly presented that bases your caseload, population,
Correct.
whatever other factors, Mr. Sudesh Verma, these many vaccines have been given to you?
Absolutely, I agree with you. You see, Tanvi, if you find fault with the formula devised by the central government that has been given to the vaccine manufacturers, you can have a case. But merely talking on the basis of some reports, you cannot make a case. And the Prime Minister has told today also, and you could have understood that everything is being worked out as per international norm, as per advice of people, as per advice of the Chief Ministers, as advice of political representatives, which includes parties you are representing today on television, isn't it? So there should be no reason just to complain for the sake of complaining. Now you are talking of 25%. Come on, let it get implemented. Let people have a choice. You know how the corporate sector works. If they want to vaccinate their people, all of them, so what is the problem? If they can pay, we should move towards a situation where anybody who is willing to pay, they should get a chance to pay. Like 80 crore people will get free ration. Do you want free ration for everyone? Is this the same argument, isn't it? Why you are arguing in that fashion?
Okay.
If there is no take of private vaccines, then naturally private sector won't buy.
Yes.
Then the rest of the vaccines the government will buy, isn't it?
Yes. No. So Anshul, what is the rationale behind this? Rahul Gandhi has also raised the same issue just a short while ago. What's the rationale behind questioning the 25% quota?
No, this is absolutely our unequivocal position has been that you give a free and universal vaccine policy in this country. Why this kind of ad hocism? Why does it exist in the first place? Why are you penalizing the middle class, the salaried workers?
For reason. Just you want to oppose.
When existential crisis at work, why can't you just make it universal and free? Why add another
it is
layer
universal and free, but it is also open to those who can pay. Like if you want to go, if you apply for British visa, I'm telling you, I work for the British government, I'm telling you, then you have a different system of payment.
I'll be happy
you
to
want the
answer your
car,
question.
you make a different payment, isn't it? That's
Yet another
You're trying to inoculate the people of a country and you're giving this analogy. What kind of senseless analogy is this?
Oh, I can't understand anybody. I'm sorry. I can't understand anybody. One at a time, please. One at a time. Yes.
So what kind of analogy is this?
No, the government has no clear program. This is one of the points of critique as well by the Supreme Court. There's too much of ad hocism in every single program of the government. Wherever it goes, whatever it does, even when it revises a program, it lights fire, it creates controversy. There is nothing smooth about it. We have been repeatedly asking, make this a universal free program. They don't want to listen. They want another layer of debate. They want some red herring. They want people to fight over each other all the time. They're doing it all over this country, in the mainland, even in Lakshadweep, doing it everywhere. They're inflaming this land. On every policy, they're doing it. Why can't they simply have a policy that does away with this? Now, the entire question is that do we have enough vaccines? All these questions about hesitancy, about free vaccines only arise if you have enough vaccines.
Yeah.
Now, the numbers that the government has come up with, the average inoculations per day, which amount to 15.5 lakh from January to June. Well, if you are going to do 15.5 lakh per day for 100 crore people, it will take you another 3 years to get this entire country vaccinated. For 100 crore, you know, you're going to wait till 100 crore when there is a likelihood of a third wave, God forbid. No, but you get your vaccines in order. These are the big fundamental questions that the government is not answering, and instead we are fighting over free, not free. There are not enough vaccines.
Okay, no, so there are not enough vaccines, but here is what I want to put this in perspective. We are slightly better off now than we were in the month of May, or even the second half of April, where we had literally reached a point where we were doing 14 lakh per day vaccination doses. We've now reached, and I want to just read this out, from 20th of May, we collated the data, 30 lakhs on 28th of May, 29th of May, 30 lakhs, 31,000 on a single day. Because then the weekend came about, you saw a drop on 30th May on Sunday of 10 lakh vaccines given in one day. And then it went up again, 27 lakh, 23 lakh, 24, 36 lakh as of 4th of June, 33 lakh on 5th of June. We are now averaging, at least this month, that would take us, we would see 9 crore to 10 crore vaccines being administered in the month of June, which on what we saw in May is double that, double of what we saw in May. The larger question will be, Mr. Sudesh Verma, to then step it up from there if you want to reach 216 crore by December.
Yeah, let me try to explain the issues raised by Ansul. You see, why 25% vaccine through private sector? You know that the corporate sector actually wants itching to come out and do something for the economy, isn't it? Suppose I have a company, then I would like 10, 20 people who are there to be vaccinated at my cost, isn't it? This is the job of the company. So why should the government not open that outlet for them? And those who can wait for the vaccines to come, they would be given free. It's not that they can't. So those who are in a hurry, they can go and take from private sector. Why do you underestimate people? Is very, I would not call it ancient, but it's very difficult kind of thinking that used to run this country, that everything should be free. Why everything should be free? Those who can afford, I can afford. Why should it come to me free? Tell me that. So those who can afford, they're ready to pay. They should go and pay. What is the problem with you? We don't understand. Just because you want to criticize, let people understand it, because we are working in the public domain. There's nothing secret, and people are very happy with this. Some people who are they're going and paying, and the Prime Minister has capped the price also. Okay. That only the charge will be 150 rupees for administering the vaccine. So the vaccine
Clyde. Okay, last 30 seconds to Clyde. Yes.
Let me just give a very important point he's raised.
Tanvi, if the corporate world wants to add to our economy, right, they have the money, then why cap it at 150 rupees for them? Let them pay as much as they want, add to the economy. What kind of absurd reasons are these? If the corporate world has the money and they want to add to our economy, then why cap it at 150?
I am not justifying it one way or the other. I am not justifying it one way or the other. I am just giving a little bit more perspective to this. 1 minute, please. Yeah.
Let them pay whatever they want to pay.
Okay. Okay. No, Clyde, I get the point that you're making. Let them pay. I just want to add one layer of perspective to this, because it's not as simple as that. In many of the earlier comments made, for example, by Adar Poonawalla, he has spoken about, yes, we are giving it to the government at this lower price now, and we will continue to do that. But at some point, we are hopeful of the market being opened up. Every vaccine maker was looking at the market opening up so that they could sell it. The private players also came in the name of humanitarian work or whatever else they wanted to say in the initial few months to participate in the vaccination drive, with the expectation that at some point they would get a better deal out of it. So yes, the vaccine manufacturers do expect a higher price, which the private hospitals are ready to pay and then further charge people. But is that a sound national vaccine policy? That's where the debate lies. Can 25% of our country continue to pay this, and should they, when the rest of the 75% can get it for free? Perhaps a point that will come up for conversation in the Supreme Court. It right now is a big political debating point. Again, I just want to emphasize, we are glad that the government has taken back control in a centralized manner for procurement of vaccines. This is the only smooth, fast, efficient way of getting the vaccine doses. The states should be allowed to decide how they administer it, but not how they procure it. So we are glad this decision has been made. Thank you so much for joining us on this debate.